The minimal leather sneaker is a wardrobe staple. I wear this type of shoe more than any other shoe in my closet. And if I had to pick one pair of shoes to wear for the rest of my life, it would be the white or off-white minimal leather sneaker. Now, there's so many videos out there talking about all of the different brands that make white leather sneakers, and in general, the Common Project's Achilles low is almost always at the top of the food chain. Is it overpriced? Of course it is. It's a $400 pair of sneakers. Now that doesn't mean you shouldn't buy it. You know, it's a luxury product from a luxury brand, and if you have the money for it and that's how you want to spend your money, you should get yourself a pair. You know, for certain people, Common Projects is the only way to go. But most guys, myself included, would prefer a more affordable alternative. Now, I've tried many of these alternatives, including Beckett Simonin, Greats, Koio, Ace Marks, Oliver Cabell, and a handful of others. And today I want to compare two brands that are getting a lot of attention lately, Oliver Cabell and Koio. And to be transparent, while I was gifted these shoes, I've never been sponsored by either of these brands, so they've never paid me to make a video or to endorse them in any way. I have worn both of these brands for many miles, and I can speak from personal experience. Before we get into it, let's do a quick wristwatch check. Today I'm wearing the Seiko SNK 809, and it's on a sailcloth nylon strap from Barton Bands. You know, the strap that this guy comes on kind of sucks, so upgrading the strap really elevates this watch, makes it feel and look a lot more premium, but great little field watch, automatic for under $100, and I'll link to it down below in the description. So let's get down to the bottom line. Which sneaker is better? Oliver Cabell Low 1 or the Koio Capri? Well, they're both great, but I prefer the Koios. To me, they have a more luxurious feel and a nicer silhouette. On my feet, they were more comfortable right out of the box, and after wearing them for a long time, many miles, I can say that they've aged like Pierce Brosnan. Now, the Koios also cost $40 more than the Oliver Cabells, and they rarely go on sale. The Oliver Cabells, on the other hand, are often on sale for at least 10% off, which makes them like $70 less than the Koios. But still, in my opinion, if you can spend up to $250 on a pair of sneakers, which I know is a lot, I think that Koio is your best choice. If you can't spend more than $200, wait for Oliver Cabell to go on sale and then pick them up for about $180. And if you want something even more affordable, I'll mention one other brand that I really like at the end of the video. Having said all that, these are both great brands, great sneakers, and they're both excellent alternatives to the Common Project's Achilles. Both of these sneakers are made using high quality materials like full grain leather, margam outsoles, and they both have those little extra details like a suede heel counter to prevent heel slippage. They're both made by hand in the Marche region of Italy, and they both have that sleek silhouette that everyone is looking for in a minimal leather sneaker. Put simply, you'll probably be very happy with either of these brands, but to help you decide, here are some differences that I've noticed in the design and fit. The Koio Capri is slightly longer and has a more dramatically tapered shape than the Low 1. In other words, it's slightly wider at the widest part of the toe box, but it's more narrow through the instep. On the other hand, the Oliver Cabell Low 1 has a straighter silhouette, but I think it's actually a more narrow shoe, especially in the toe box. It just doesn't necessarily look like it because it doesn't taper as dramatically through the midsection, which is the narrowest part of your foot. Another subtle difference is that the Oliver Cabell's toe box seems a little bit taller than the Koio's. It doesn't really change the silhouette, but I do prefer the shorter toe box because I don't need the extra vertical space. The Low 1 is branded in two places, on the tongue and the heel. And to me, the gold lettering is an obvious hat tip to Common Projects. The Capri's branding is a little more subtle and monochromatic. The Koio logo and word mark are embossed on the tongue and the heel, respectively. The Low 1 has 8 pairs of eyelets, and the Capri only has 6, which is actually the same as the Common Project's Achilles Low. Both shoes have an open lacing system, which is how most sneakers are, but the eye stays are noticeably closer together on the Koios. The tongues are also a little bit different. Oliver Cabell doesn't have a lace loop, while Koio does, and Oliver Cabell has this padded section at the top, while the Koio tongue is all one thin piece of leather. Both shoes have some padding around the collar, but the Koio's is a little less noticeable. Both shoes come with high quality laces, but they are a little different. Koio's laces are waxed cotton, so they have a slightly stiffer feel out of the box. Oliver Cabell's laces are a softer cotton, but after break-in, they both feel the same to me. The heel design is also slightly different, and I kind of prefer the center seam of the Oliver Cabells. There are some other differences between these brands. The low one is available in men's sizes 5 to 14, which is awesome. The Capri is available in men's sizes 7 to 13, but you should know that it's basically a unisex shoe, so if you need a smaller size, you can just get a women's size. And you can also correlate this to the European sizing scale. So for example, I wear in Koio a women's 9, which will be a men's 6, or a European 39. It's the exact same sneaker, so don't get too hung up on which section of the website it's from. At the time of writing, the low one is available in 14 colors, including one suede option, and the Capri is available in 19 colors. It's a mix of leather, suede, and mixed materials. The Koio Capri Bianco, which is the pair that I've worn for a few years now, is leather, but it has a contrasting suede strip that I really like. You can also get the classic triple white design that doesn't have any suede on it. Both brands have an all white, an all black, an off-white, and then a range of more bold or seasonal colors. I think both brands have a lot of really cool colors to choose from. Personally, I usually stick with all white or any sort of off-white. Alright, up until this point, we've talked about some pretty trivial differences between these two brands, so it's time to discuss arguably the most important factor, the leather. Both brands claim to use full-grain calf leather, but I have to say for the record, Koio actually does not use calf skin. Their leather is from mature cows, as confirmed by my friend Nick over on the Stridewise YouTube channel. To double check, I actually asked a Koio support rep via their online chat about their leather, and initially they said that they do use calf skin, but then when I sent them that video of Nick's, they doubled back and said that they stand corrected. I don't know why Koio continues to say that they use calf skin around their website. I don't know why their support reps would think this and they wouldn't have accurate product information. In my opinion, this is kind of misleading, and I don't think it really benefits them because most people don't really care if their shoes are made from calf skin or cow skin. I know that I don't really care. In fact, for some people, they probably would prefer not using a calf leather. But either way, I really think that Koio should focus on making their product descriptions as accurate as possible. Oliver Cabell, on the other hand, does use calf leather as stated on their website. In fact, they even go so far as to say how much the leather cost to make each pair of shoe, which is very cool. But regardless of all that, the leather on these two shoes looks very similar. To me, the Koio leather seems a little bit softer and more broken in. The Capri's plush leather lining, especially on the inside of the tongue, never caused any blisters or discomfort on the top and sides of my feet. I didn't notice any squeaking during the very brief break-in process with my Koios, but the Oliver Cabell lows felt a little stiffer to me. The actual leather seems a bit harder compared to the Koios. This isn't necessarily bad because sometimes stiff leather will break in really nicely with a lot of wear, but I've put a few miles on my low ones and they definitely still have a little bit of breaking in to do, and I have noticed a little bit of friction on my foot. I think this is partially because there's this stitching inside the low one collar that's rubbing against my skin, and in the Koios there's no extra stitching there, and I just find that to be a little bit more comfortable. Granted, comfort has a lot to do with the size and shape of your feet. Neither of these brands offers half sizes, so you might find yourself having to size up or down. Now, in my experience, both brands run large, so if you're in between sizes, it's probably safe to size down, but Koio seems to run even larger than Oliver Cabell. So for example, my normal shoe size in a dress shoe like Allen Edmonds is 7. A Koio 7 is way too big for me, so I size down a full size to size 6, or a women's 9 or European 39, and it fits perfectly. With Oliver Cabell, the 7 is slightly big, but the 6 is slightly small. So if they made a 6.5, it'd be perfect, but they don't. So I actually took my 6s to a local cobbler, had them stretched out a little bit, maybe a quarter to a half size, and now they fit a lot better. And this isn't a knock on Oliver Cabell at all. I just happen to be right in between sizes with that brand. You know, I know other people that have bought both Koio and Oliver Cabell, and the Oliver Cabells fit them better. So it's really a subjective thing. It has nothing to do with the overall quality of the shoe. But given all of this, the fit, the comfort, the design, and the quality, the Koio Capris are just my number one go-to leather sneaker. I think it's the best sneaker under $300, and in fact, even if you have the budget for common projects, I think you should consider Koio. The Oliver Cabell Low 1 is also a fantastic sneaker, especially if you can get it for under $180 when it's on sale. That is a very fair price. And it's almost $70 less than the Koio Capris, so that is a significant price difference. But if you want something even more affordable, check out the Greats Royale. These go on sale pretty regularly, and that puts them right around $135. They're not quite as sleek as Koio or Oliver Cabell, but they are very high quality, way better than something like the Adidas Stan Smith or anything you're going to find from Nike or New Balance. They come in half sizes, and they're also a lot better for people with a wider foot or a higher instep. If you want to do some more research before pulling the trigger, I will link to an article down below in the description that has a bunch of other common projects alternatives, including these brands, but also a bunch of other brands at more affordable price points. And I would love to hear from you. If you had to pick between Oliver Cabell and Koio, which one would you go with? Let me know down in the comment section. Thank you as always for watching, and until next time, stay stylish.